Attila, the name strikes fear into the hearts of men. Even today, people talk about how terrifying Attila the Hun was. History books describe him as the terror of Rome and the scourge of God. He has inspired countless stories and even songs. And if we listen to those who lived back then, he was an actual demon that descended upon Europe. So what did he do? What makes him so scary? Well, in this video, we will look at how he rose to power. Attila was born around the year 406 CE in Pannonia, which is now part of Hungary. His father was Mundzuk, the ruler of a nomadic group of Huns. The Huns were known as horse-riding warriors who lived in Central Asia. They were very skilled horsemen and excellent archers. When Attila was born, his father had just made peace with the Roman Empire. This gave the Huns a safe haven in the province of Pannonia. Attila had a pretty normal childhood for a future king of the Huns. He grew up learning how to ride a horse, hunt, and fight. When Attila was old enough, his father passed the rule over to him and his older brother Bleda. Together they co-ruled the Huns. The two brothers were not only kings, but also generals of the Huns. They led their people on raids into the Roman provinces. These campaigns were very successful, especially because the Romans didn't have any cavalry to match the Huns. At the time, Rome was at war with the Goths to the north. Rome was losing badly against these guys. In fact, they lost around 20,000 men in a single battle. So the Roman Empire asked the Huns for help. Soon the Huns and the Romans were fighting side by side against the Goths. It was actually pretty weird to see these two enemies working together. Around the year 434 CE, the Gothic king Theodemir died. This marked the end of the Gothic-Roman War. Now there was nothing keeping the Huns and Romans apart. The treaties that their fathers had made were now seen as useless pieces of paper. Both brothers took turns attacking the Romans. After a few years of constant pressure, Emperor Theodosius II finally had enough. He wanted to put an end to this once and for all. Theodosius sent his general, Majorian, to deal with the Hunnic threat. The Romans marched into Hunnic territory and completely destroyed it. Luckily, the Huns were prepared for such an attack. They fled into the forest and launched guerrilla attacks against the Romans. This annoyed Majorian so much that he decided to return to Rome. The campaign had been a complete failure. After he left, Bleda and Attila declared war on the Western Roman Empire. Their first target was the city of Aquileia. The city was completely caught off guard, and before they knew it, the Huns were inside. The city was massacred. The Huns killed everyone: men, women, children. No one was spared. From here, the brothers went to sacking other cities. With each passing day, more and more people were dying. To stop this bloodshed, the Western Roman Emperor Constantius III had to pay the Huns a yearly tribute. Soon, the Eastern Roman Emperor agreed to pay tribute as well. This made Bleda and Attila very happy. All of a sudden, the Huns were rich and powerful. The other Germanic tribes started fearing them. They knew that if they made one wrong move, the Huns would be after them next. But this uneasy peace wouldn't last long. In 445 CE, something terrible happened. While traveling through the kingdom of the Gepids, Bleda and Attila met with King Ardaric. They invited him to celebrate the new year with them, but the party turned into a massacre. Attila and his men killed King Ardaric and blinded and tortured his wife. To make things worse, a rumor started spreading that Bleda was next in line for the throne. This didn't make Attila very happy. In fact, he was furious. You see, since the beginning of their rule, the brothers shared everything equally. If they were going to keep doing this, then there was no reason for Bleda to be his second in command. There had to be a change. So while on their way back home, Attila challenged his own brother to a wrestling match. To everyone's shock, he killed Bleda. Now there was no one to challenge his authority. Attila was the undisputed leader of the Huns. Now that he was the sole ruler, he wanted to expand his empire. He united the other Hunnic tribes under his banner. Then he started attacking Rome. This time, the tribute wasn't enough. Now Rome had to send him valuable gifts, or he would march into their lands and destroy everything. As you can imagine, this was pretty hard on the treasury of Rome. People started hating the Huns and wanting to get rid of them. A few generals tried to defeat Attila, but they were no match for him. One by one, they were defeated and forced to pay tribute. By 447 CE, all of Europe was under the control of the Huns. Attila's empire stretched from the Alps to the Caspian Sea. At its peak, his army had around 200,000 men. Most of them were cavalry. They were fast, deadly, and very hard to beat. During his reign, the Huns became the terror of Rome. In total, they launched 5 massive invasions into Roman territories. In 451 CE, the Huns marched into Gaul. Their goal was to loot and pillage the cities of the Gauls. But little did they know, they were in for a big surprise. The Visigoths had settled down in southern Gaul. Their king, Theodoric I, was busy campaigning in Spain. When he heard that the Huns were near, he stopped his advance and marched back to protect his people. As he was making his way home, he met with the Roman general, Aetius. Together, they formed an alliance and raised a massive army of around 80,000 men. Attila was surprised to see such a large force waiting for him, but he was confident that his men would win. He divided the army into 3 parts. His sons, Elac and Ernakil, led the first 2 divisions. He himself led the 3rd. This was the battle that decided the fate of Europe. If the Romans and Visigoths won, the Huns would be pushed back. But if Attila won, he would be able to conquer the entire continent. The battle began with the Huns charging into the Roman Gothic lines. For a moment, it seemed like the Romans would be routed, but little by little they managed to hold their ground. By the end of the day, both sides had suffered heavy losses. The casualties were so high that neither side could take advantage of the other's weakness. It was a draw. Even though the Romans technically hadn't lost, they still weren't happy. They knew deep down that they had missed out on a great opportunity. To end the Hunnic threat once and for all, Attila used this victory to gain more land. He continued to sack cities and demand tribute from the surrounding kingdoms. Around the year 453 CE, he fell very ill. Some say he was drunk and passed away sleeping by the fireplace. Others claim he was poisoned by his wife, Irenaeus. Whatever the cause, the terror of Rome was finally over. Attila had died, but his legacy lived on. The other Germanic tribes kept telling stories about his victories for years to come. Even today, people remember him as one of the greatest barbarian rulers in history. So, do you think Attila was a good or bad ruler? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Have a great day. Bye.